Good morning, and welcome to the International Seminar of Research Month 2021. My name is Aryo Bimo Otomo, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for this event. First of all, let me introduce you about the overview of this event. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic situation brings us to a condition called the new normal, new patterns of life that are able to adapt to very limited conditions. These patterns has created a new space of public awareness that arises out of compulsion, or if not, from an empty space of public awareness that already exists but has never been touched. Local and basic knowledge about health is starting to rise again. Along with the demands to maintain health, many people are returning to the local wisdom of health. This is also the case with the global supply chains, which are temporarily forced to loosen the chains and return to the resilience of the people of the geographies. The pandemic conditions has forced the public to immediately switch from the industrial society to a more post-industrial society, or something that we call as the informational society. In such informational society, data and literacy are gold. Those who are able to own and process data and their literacy will gain long-term benefits. Therefore, the 2021 International Seminar of Research Month invites all the participants to attend and to strengthen scientific and factual knowledge related to disaster management so as to create stronger and resilient communities. This conference is also attempts to be a synergistic effort along with the government, universities, colleges, and the international community at large to discuss contemporary issues on disaster resilience and its derivatives. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this event is building disaster resilience through database and literacy advancement. This event will be divided into two sessions. The first one is the keynote speech session with our three amazing speakers, Mr. Muhammad Robi Amri, Dr. Ji Wang, and Professor Sifa Rama Murthy. And then the second session will be followed by the panel discussions on 6 themes: digital literacy advancement, food security and agro-industry, renewable energy, community resilience, ICT and data security, creative economy, as well as the law enforcement. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. But first of all, before proceeding to the next session, let us begin this event with the national anthem of Indonesia and Mars Bela Negara. Therefore, on behalf of the committee, we would like to kindly remind you to put your microphone on mute. Thank you for your attention. Let us proceed with the national anthem.
Pembukaan acara oleh Ketua LP3 KPPN PKN Jawa Timur kepada yang terhormat Profesor Dr. Dr. Agung Nawati Murthy.
Thank you for your attention, dear participants. Before proceeding to the keynote speech session, as our main event of today's seminar, we will be having two speeches. The first one is the welcoming speech and reports from the head of the committee, Mr. Praja Firdaus Nuryananda. And secondly, we would like to invite Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Fauzi MMT, the Honorable Rector of Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur, to deliver his opening remarks as well as to officially open this international seminar. But first of all, let's invite Mr. Praja Firdaus Nuryananda to deliver his reports and his welcoming speech. Over to you, Mr. Praja.
Thank you, Mas Aryo Bimo Utomo, as the master of the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, and to all distinguished participants, we would like to give some brief report of the seminar. The seminar themed Building Disaster Resilience Through Database and Literacy Advancements. This seminar is an annual seminar from Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur. And today's seminar, we would like to announce that the seminar have 261 presenters, all ranging from Indonesia and another states, across countries and across universities. And the seminar would like to present you Mr. Muhammad Robi Amri from BNPB. And then we will have Professor Sifa Rama Murthy from VIT Vellore, India. And then we will have Dr. Jiwang from University of Queensland. And in the second day, we will have Dr. Muhammad Saud from Islamic International University, Pakistan. And the last one is Mr. Muhammad Irwan Afandi from Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur. We would like to thank you to all the participants, to all the invited guests, to all the invited speakers. Once again, we'd like to thank you very much and we wish you all the best. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Aryo Bimo as the Master of Ceremony.
Thank you, Mr. Praja Firdaus Nuryananda, for his welcoming speech and reports. After this, we would like to cordially welcome Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Fauzi MMT as the Honorable Rector of Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur to officially open this international seminar. For Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Fauzi MMT, the time and stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aryo Bimo Utomo. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, the Honorable invite guest and invite speaker, Dr. Sifa Rama Murthy from India, Dr. Jiwang from Australia, Dr. Muhammad Saud from Pakistan, Mr. Muhammad Irwan Afandi from UPN, and Dr. Muhammad Robi Amri from BNPB, Republik Indonesia. And Dr. Yani Wuryandari, Head of Institute for Research and Community Services of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur and staff. And to all distinguished participants, Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. For today, we are given the opportunity to meet again at this extraordinary forum, International Seminar of Research Month, ISRM, in annual and international academic seminar held by UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. This seminar aimed to disseminate research finding throughout the community as well as to create a wider academic network, a professional network, especially for participants. In 2021, we are trying our best to recover. We feel the change, and we are here to feel the change and move forward together. UPN Veteran Jawa Timur as the Defense and State Campus or Bela Negara Campus, and with that spirit, we encourage the speaker and participant to build the spirit of defending the country through disaster resilience. by strengthening database and literacy and the theme of our seminar. And inshallah, the seminar SRM 2021 present to you a collaborative intellectual space for our future. All participants, on behalf of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, I wish to use this opportunity to express our most sincere gratitude to the expert speaker, Dr. Muhammad Robi Amri, Dr. Jiwang, Dr. Sifa Rama Murthy, and Dr. Muhammad Saud, and Mr. Irwan Afandi for your participation. I also want to give my greatest appreciation to the Institute for Research and Community Services of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur for coordinating this seminar very well. Thank you to the invite guests and all participants. We really hope that ISRM 2021 can become a seminar that support the advancement of science and all participants. We truly believe in your expertise and experience to enrich our seminar discussion and resilient discourse. And by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, today International Seminar of Research Month 2021, I officially open. Thank you very much for the participation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Honorable Rector of Universitas Pembangunan Veteran Jawa Timur, Professor Fauzi. After this, we will proceed to our key session, and we will promise you an interesting discussion ahead, because after this, we will be having 3 keynote speeches. The first one will be delivered by Mr. Muhammad Robi Amri. The second one will be presented by Dr. Jiwang, and the third presenter will be Professor Sifa Ramamurthy. And this session will be guided by our moderator, Dr. Farida Pulansari, MT. Therefore, after this, without any further ado, let's give Dr. Farida Pulansari the time and stage to guide the discussion session. Over to you, Mrs. Moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aryo. Let's start the main session today. His Excellency the Rector of Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur, respectable the Chair of this International Seminar of Research Month 2021, and the Honorable of all guests, presenter, and participants in this seminar. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Farida Pulansari as moderator of all keynote speaker sessions in this international seminars. This keynote session will discuss about the building disaster resilience through database and literacy advancement. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the presentation, and in order to avoid any disturbance during the presentation later, I would like to inform you with several information. For the first one, please keep unmute the voice in each session. And the second, please use Q&A panel in the chat room to send questions to the keynote speaker, and we will answer this during the discussion. Thank you. The Honorable Mr. and Madam Speaker, distinguished guests, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning. Before the presentation begins, allow me to introduce the first keynote speaker, and our keynote speaker today is Mr. Muhammad Robi Amri. Mr. Robi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Dr. Farida. Thank you.
Thank you. How are you today, Mr. Robi? Great.
Great.
Okay.
You too, Dr. Farida.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Robi. At this time, he is a Director Pengembangan Sistem PB in BNPB. And for educational background, he attained his master's degree in geography, and he attained his bachelor degree in geology. And for the employment history, in 2005 until 2008 as analis kebencanaan in Bakornas PB, 2008 until 2011 as analis kebencanaan in BNPB, 2011 until 2017 as Kasih Pengkajian Resiko Bencana BNPB, 2017 until 2018 as Kasubit Mitigasi Bencana BNPB, 2018 until 2020 as Kasubit Pengembangan Standar PB BNPB, and the last 2020 until now as Perencana Ahli Madya BNPB. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Muhammad Robi Amri, and the title of the presentation today is Data in Historical Disaster Knowledge. Time is your, Mr. Robi, and you have 30 minutes to the presentation. Thank you. Okay, operator, can you play the presentation from Mr. Robi? Okay, Mr. Robi, you can start the sharing presentation today. Okay, we still wait Mr. Robi.
Hello, Dr. Farida. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
yes,
Okay.
very
I'm so
clearly.
sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Can I start?
Yes, Mr. Robi, you can start now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Fauzi, Rector of UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, our international and national guest speaker from various universities and countries, colleagues from state minister and agencies, local government, universities, international and national NGOs, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to all of you and very good morning. On behalf of the National Disaster Management Authority, BNPB, it is my pleasure to be here today. I wish to begin my presentation by expressing my deep appreciation to UPN Veteran Jawa Timur for its effort on hosting this international seminar. We would also like to thank our partners for supporting disaster management in Indonesia, specifically for working together with us on developing disaster management in Indonesia. Today, for now, please allow me to share our perspective on building resiliency through data and literacy. Next slide, please. First of all, as we know, geographically, Indonesia is one of the biggest archipelagic tropical countries with so many islands. There is more than 17,000 islands with more than 108 kilometer coastal line surrounding this country. Demographically, Indonesia is the world's fourth most populous country after China, India, and the United States of America. with a population of more than 270 million last year census. In 2021, for the first time in history, half of Indonesia's population resides in urban areas. By 2025, it is estimated that about 65% of the population, or more than 180 million people, will live in urban areas, particularly in 16 large and metropolitan cities. With very active geological condition, it makes this country very rich with natural resources, both inside and outside the ground. Next slide. On the other hand, those conditions make Indonesia become very prone area from disaster. At least there are 10 different types of disaster has been finished for risk assessment by BNPB. Next slide. Talking about data, statistically has been recorded by BNPB through our database. At least there are more than 17,000 disaster incidents occur in many places in Indonesia in the last 5 years. Maybe about 3,000 to 4,000 incidents per year. With this recorded data also we can analyze. There are some characteristics and aspects. For some point, we can see the most type of frequent disaster is flood, landslide, and extreme weather. In this condition, we mean strong wind, which is controlled majority by climate or hydrological condition. By using statistical data, we also can see the most social impact are given by flood and earthquake. Next slide. But the most destructive direct impact is earthquake and tsunami. And more analysis can be conducted by using comprehensive statistical data. Next slide. Dear colleagues, it is in this honorable event, I would like also share another perspective about disaster data. One of our understanding is disaster has periodic pattern. Disaster is recurring event. For example, with this slide, one of the evidence based on the publication from Dr. Nazli from Syekh Kuala University, there are periodic events has been recorded by sediment deposit at Lenti Cave around Banda Aceh City. Through this evidence, the sediment shows at least there are some tsunami hits coastal area before 2004. The next slide. Another example shows also by Merapi volcano big eruption captured by our colleagues from Geological Agency. The data shows at least 5 the eruption reached very high impact. It is sure support the perspective that disaster is a recurring event. Next slide. This slide also became another evidence that disaster is a recurring event. 100 years ago, another pandemic situation happened in the world, including Indonesia. Today, also we also affected by another pandemic, also COVID-19. Next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, with some findings, BNPB also tried to reveal some knowledge from historical disaster. We believe there are some wisdom from each disaster. There are some knowledge we can learn from every single disaster incident. Next slide. Since 2019, BNPB tried to collect one by one the lesson and the knowledge from many institutions, many places, and many other resources around the world about historical disaster in Indonesia, about what we can learn from the past. Next slide. This slide shows another example our finding of disaster history-based knowledge. On the left picture, Read Demand, we found a book, a video, I'm sorry, a film. It shows about the source of knowledge in a film, trying to reconcile the present with the past. This film also tells that earthquake and tsunami are a phenomena that have also occurred in the Mentawai Island in ancient times. In the middle picture, there is an article we found tells not only Indonesia, the Tambora eruption also had a global impact. For example, causing tsunamis in several ASEAN countries, North America, Canada, and Europe. In addition, it also causes extreme climate change in America and Germany. In these two countries, summer has not arrived for a year. The massive eruption has killed more than 47 million people, and displaced more than 36,000 others and the surrounding island. And on the right pictures tells the 5-point Crown Disaster Adaptation book, tells various lessons from the development of benteng during the Dutch East Indies era, which pays attention to aspects of disaster anticipation, especially earthquake, tsunami, and monsoon climate. Next slide. Another example that we found from some publications tells about Krakatoa eruption in August 27, 1883. Tells about from the top of the mountain a spew into the air as high as 70 kilometers. A tsunami as high as 40 meters hit both sides of the coastal Sumatra and Banten and its surroundings. The death toll was recorded at more than 36,000 indigenous people and 37 Europeans. High wave reached Australia, Sri Lanka, India, Arab, and South Africa because of this eruption. The eruption formed a caldera with a diameter about 5 to 7 kilometers with a depth of 270 meters below sea level, which is now known as Mount Anak Krakatau. In the middle, the book Flood of Batavia in 19th century tells how the management planning of Dutch East Indies government at the time developed some places, some villages around the coastal, around the river basin. It tells us about the management to reduce impact of the flood. An article at the right side tells about how the destructive earthquake in Sulawesi was developed. Provide a brief description of the tectonic setting in Sulawesi that impacts on earthquake vulnerability. And many more examples of knowledge that can be collected and developed from strengthening disaster anticipation strategies. Next slide, ladies and gentlemen. for collecting and maintaining data, information, and knowledge based on disaster information. Our institution, BNPB, trying to build some mechanism, some system information. Next slide. At this moment, I would like to share at least 3 main systems to collecting and maintaining those processes. The first system, we call it DB, Historical Disaster Statistic Database System Information. We collect historical disaster as a statistic number of database. The second one, the system we try to develop is, we call it INARIS. INARIS system information tells us about risk assessment data, potential risk assessment data. And the last system we under develop is related to historical disaster literacy system information. And all the system is open to public, everybody can access through the internet. And for this point, I would like to more specifically about our last point about historical disaster literacy in system information. Next slide. All of you can access through this portal, http://sejarah.db.bnpb.go.id. This is our approach to collect all the historical data, become acknowledged for all people around Indonesia, around the world. Next slide. This is how we can see the portal is. There are some dashboard. Can we explore the content related to existing data information has been collected by all the participants. Next slide. And some also already
Halo Bu Farida.
Iya, Bu.
Nampaknya terputus ya.
Oke. Pak Robi, Mr. Robi, can you hear my voice? Masih terlempar lagi, Bu, kayaknya. Mr. Robi? Okay, maybe we wait Mr. Robi to join with us again in this Zoom. Can you write the question maybe in the chat room for the participant? I open question from now, and you can write in the chat room.
I'm sorry, Dr. Farida.
Okay, Mr. Robi.
Okay, I'm so sorry because
Okay.
the connection is
The
very
connection is
yeah. Okay, I will the next slide, please.
okay.
Okay, for the last data information and knowledge of disaster management from historical event are numerous and spread across various institutions and places. This is our finding in the last 2 years. The story of disaster event is a source of knowledge to build future disaster management strategies. And the collection and management of disasters knowledge needs to be done in a collaborative, inclusive, systemic, and sustainable way. With disaster and information, we build a disaster history literacy system as a legacy of resilience in the past, present, and the future. Next slide. At this moment, I would like also invite all of you to join our seminar related of the historical disaster literacy tomorrow, 13 to 14 October, virtually and free to all to join. The theme is literasi sejarah kebencanaan sebagai warisan ketangguhan masa lalu, kini, dan nanti. Dengan tagline, menelusuri jejak, meneguhkan pijak. Very welcome to all of you to join. To that end, I'm pleased to say that this seminar is one of our efforts to raise our national capacity for making resilient nation facing disaster. This accomplishment took many years. This achievement took a lot of partnership and hard work, but has become our contribution to share with the world so that together we can save more lives and make this earth a safer place for us and for future generations to live. I thank you all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Back to
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Robbie. This is a great presentation. Professor Sifa Rama Murthy is joined in the room. Not yet?
Good morning,
Not yet.
Farida. This is not
Oh,
yet.
okay. Please welcome Professor Sifa Rama Murthy. Okay. Let's continue the second keynote speaker. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second keynote speaker. He is Professor Sifa Rama Murthy. He is from Department of Biotechnology, School of Biosciences and Technology, Fellow Institute of Technology, Fellow Tamil Nadu, India. His educational qualification, in 2003, he attained his PhD degree from Madurai Kamaraj University, India. In 1999, he attained his master degree from Madurai Kamaraj University, India. In 1997, he attained his bachelor degree from Bharatidasan University, India. And he is expert in plant science. For prison, Professor Sifa Rama Murthy is professor and principal investigator. Also have fellowship and award and member in many societies. Until 2021, Professor Sifa has 131 publications, 10 book chapter, and has its index 28 and citation more than 3,000. Wow, that's a great number, Professor Sifa. Without further ado, I would like to welcome our second keynote speaker, and the presentation entitled Food Security Challenges and Progress. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Sifa Rama Murthy. Floor is yours, Professor, and you have 30 minutes to the presentation. Thank you.
Sure. Ensure my slides are visible to you.
Yes, very visible, Professor.
Thank you. At the outset, thank you, Farida, for introducing me, for your nice words. At the outset, I thank the ISRM members and other convener for giving me this opportunity to discuss about on the food security challenges and progress. As it was discussed, I am basically a plant biotechnology. The moment the ISRM convener and the committee approached, I chosen this topic because we do lots of genetic engineering work, and that could solve some of the issues, if not all. So next 20 minutes or 25 minutes, I'm going to discuss about the topics on food security. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Maybe last few minutes we can spend for the discussion. So what is food security? So food security means availability, accessibility, and affordability of food to all people at all times. But unfortunately, which is not happening, mostly we are not getting food in some countries. Some places, the food may available, the accessibility could be the issue, or in other region of the world where, the affordability could be the issue. So what are all the challenges the entire globe or the world is facing? I have few slides to talk about the status of Indonesia. What is the status with food security? Maybe that also maybe we can discuss. So the challenges in front of us regarding the food security are three major factors. Number one, the world population is increasing 2 to 3% every year. So it is not a small number. It's a very, very huge number where, the percentage of the population is increasing. So you may ask, what is the relation between the population and food? Obviously, when the new generation comes, we should be ready with the food to feed. And the threatening information what we are getting is till 2050, which is not far away, maybe another 29 years, we are going to face that this planet has to feed 3 more billion people. So whoever is existing today, along with that, 3 more billion people going to join in another 3 decades. So we should be ready to provide them the food. It is as per the FAO, that is a Food and Agricultural Organization. Not only that, there are already 940 million people are starving. So they are not beggars. They basically not getting the appropriate food. So what we call it them as a hidden hunger. So that means they are lack of micronutrients. So the number estimates that it is more than 2 billion people throughout the globe. So which is a very, very huge. So it is not only that we should provide the food, but also the food that we are providing should be nutritionally good. So this is first challenge. The second challenge, in order to grow the crops or the food, the land is needed. Unfortunately, the area of the arable land is decreasing, and the statistics says that, about 1% every year. Imagine if it is going in such a way, after 50 years, we don't have place to grow the crops. So the arable land is, drastically reducing. That is another problem. So because of these two reasons, there is a huge agricultural productivity we have to meet out, and that is less than 1% annually. So let me quickly discuss each point in detail. So I mentioned first challenge is the world population. So this is the slide to show you how the population is increasing with respect to the developing countries as well as developed countries. So here you can see from 1950 to 2100. So in fact, if you see the developed country, which is a very static and it is in a very good ratio, it is growing. But on the other hand, if you see the developing country like India or China or any other country, so the growth is not yet stopped. It is still under lag phase. Okay. So it is in the exponential phase. It has not come to the stationary phase. So I hope until 2050, the population rate will be increased for almost all developing countries. So after 2050 only, it will be static and it will come to the stationary phase. So this is how the world population is growing very drastically. And there is one more information as per the FAO is that, we have to double the food production by 2030. So which is not far away. Okay. So maybe in another 9 years, the 2030 will come, and where we should be ready to make our food production by double. Okay. So this is the another major issue. I also mentioned that about the hidden hunger. So they are not beggars, but basically, they are not getting the sufficient food. So this is the hungry people, and where, the statistics says from 2014 to 16. So India is dominating, where you have in 2014 to 16, there are around 194.6 million people are hidden hunger. And Indonesia, it is 2014 to 16, there are 19.4 millions are hidden hunger. So that means they are not getting the appropriate food. So this is one very strange thing. And the hidden hunger, to explain, it is nothing but the deficiency of micronutrients. They are not getting the appropriate nutrients, which is necessary for the growth and the development of the children. As far as India is concerned, 48% of the Indian children are stunted, and almost 330,000 annual deaths are happening only because of vitamin A deficiency or anemia or iodine deficiency or folic acid deficiency. Like that, there are so many deficiencies which is occurring with young kids, and because of that, they are dying. So to avoid that, what the government started is they have started with the midday meal, because there is a global hunger index was listed in 2020 last year. So they listed throughout the globe, there are 107 countries which are considered as a hidden hunger country. So India is ranking 94th position, and with the score of 27.2. So any country which is more than 25 is considered as a serious. Let's see about Indonesia. Indonesia, out of 107 countries, Indonesia ranks 70th position. So it is moderate. It is not worst, basically. Because as I said, any country, the value above 25 when goes, it is a dangerous. But as of now, Indonesia is 19.1. So as of now, it is okay, but still it is also one among the hunger index in the globe. Okay. So this is nothing but indicating that the food, the Indonesian kids, what they are getting is not sufficient. It is lacking of the micronutrients. We should think about it. The second point, which I mentioned about the arable land. So according to the Food and Agricultural Organization, so where they say that, every year there is a very less arable land we are getting. And the reports or the statistics says that out of 4,924 million hectares, only 1,400 million hectares are arable. The remaining land is not arable. So that's a very drastic problem. One end the population is increasing, whereas the another end the land is reducing. Then we have to meet out with existing land. We have to develop a technology for growing the crops. It's very interesting statistics, just for the understanding that what they have done is like they have calculated the entire population in 1960s, 2000 and 2050, and also they calculated the availability of the arable land. So according to 1960, every individual, let it be an Indonesian or Indian or Australian, whatever, whoever may be, so every individual on their name, they may have 0.44 hectare per head. But in 2000, it reduced 50%. It was only 0.22 hectare per head. But it is believed that in 2050, it will be less than 0.13 hectare per head. What does it mean? That means the land remaining reducing, whereas the population is increasing. So that is the thing. But by the way, this is not a new problem. Already we have faced such a problem. So that's where the Green Revolution came. So during the Green Revolution, the hybrid technology was introduced to overcome the food security issue. So what they have done is two rice varieties were crossed. DGO Ujen and PETA was crossed in Manila, that is the International Rice Research Institute, in 1962. And the new variety, what we are consuming today, is called IR8. So for which they received the Nobel Prize, Norman Borlaug, who we are calling as a father of Green Revolution. So he saved several millions of lives from starvation. Along with him, the Indian-born scientist, M.S. Swaminathan, so he also contributed towards the food security. And one of the seminar, he made a statement that if the temperature rises by even a 1 degree centigrade, we will be short of 7 million tons of wheat. So you can understand, like, how the temperature is playing a role and how sensitive the crops are. So these are all the points we have to remember. What actually happened during the Green Revolution, if you ask me, like, they reduced the improved varieties of, they have increased the improved varieties of crops. And during that period only, the synthetic fertilizers, pesticides were introduced, and better machinery were also happened during that period only. So because of that, you can see from this slide that there is a huge improvement in the crop production. Say, for example, wheat, when you are talking about, so where it has really increased after 1960, after the Green Revolution, almost 15-fold or 20-fold increase of the wheat. Okay, so like that in all nations, there is a huge development after the Green Revolution. The another problem, the major problem for let's say like the food security is that, if you want to grow the crop, basically we need of the water. So the water crisis occur in a 3-way, maybe insufficient water per person, or poor water quality, or maybe dwindling water level due to over extraction. So I hope this is common issues not only for India, throughout the globe. This is the scenario for the water crisis. And in fact, any country will be considered as a water deficient country if it is less than 1700 cubic meter per person. Okay, so no doubt India is one among the water stressed country, and of course, based on the literature, I understand Indonesia is also one among the water stressed country. We do not have the sufficient water, and moreover, the quality of the water is also not clean, or we can say poor. And due to the development purpose, because we constructing so many buildings and mall and other buildings, so residential building. So because of that, the water level is reducing. Okay, so these are all some of the issues where what the entire globe is actually facing. So this is the slide to show that the comparison between the developing country and developed country, how they are using the water resources. So if you see the developing country like India or Indonesia, or let's say like China, where most of the water resources we are utilizing only for the agricultural purpose, whereas the industrial purpose we are using very, very less. And domestic purpose is also comparatively less. On the other hand, if you see the developed country, the water resource they're mainly using for the not for the agricultural purpose, rather it is actually for the industrial development. But one thing all of us should remember, that if the country cannot expand irrigation or increase agricultural productivity by other means, obviously the economic growth will be restricted. So if there is no crops, if there is no agricultural production, then obviously we will be facing a very huge problem towards the food security. And all of you will agree with me that these days the climatic change playing a very, very important role. So the previous speaker mentioned about the disaster related. So very clearly he explained how the things are happening in the globally, and what are all the issues the world is facing. So the climate is not only for the human being, but also it is needed for the plants to survive. And because of the very bad climatic condition, global warming and other kind of the issues, what happens is more deserts are growing and extreme weather conditions. So that means if it is a winter, if it is extreme cold, if it is a summer, it is extreme hot. So all those extreme weather conditions the country is facing, and more drought, and which is not good for the plants or agricultural crops to grow. And the pH of the soil is increasing with more alkaline, and salinity is increasing. So because of all those reasons, the global food productions obviously will going down. So this is another very, very important factor to consider. I hope all of you like this insect. a beautiful colored insect. And this is scientifically, we call it as a Dioprotica virgifera. This particular insect has another name. The another name for this insect is called billion-dollar bug. So we call it billion-dollar bug. Why? Because this one bug or the insect is more than sufficient to cause huge loss to the farmer. So this particular bug will cause in US alone almost 300,000 acre, and only for the corn. Okay, only one crop, one insect is more than sufficient to damage. So here, just want to tell you, I'm not going to discuss scientifically because it's a different group of participants. So I'm not going to discuss more detail in biological aspect, but still just want to tell you, this is a chili plant, top to bottom. So we call it apex, and here it is called root. So top to bottom, you have each of the part is known to infect with one or other pathogen. Say, for example, root, it is getting disease called root rot. And in the stem, again, there is a bacterial stem browning infection which is happening, or bacterial wilt is happening. In flower, there is some disease. In fruit, there is a disease. So like that, starting from apex till the root, almost all parts of the plant they are getting. There is one more example. This is tomato. So again, almost 11 to 12 diseases which are known to have in the crop. So what actually I'm trying to say is, like, one end we don't have land. The farmers facing a problem, they don't get of land, they don't get water. Even with the existing land, with availability of the water, when they are growing the crop, the climate is not sufficient, the global warming or the climate change which is playing a role. And apart from that, there are so many biotic and abiotic factors and pathogens like a viral infection, bacterial infection, and fungal infection which is happening. So because of all those things, in fact, there is a farmer suicide which is happening. There is one suicide every half an hour. Not India, I'm talking globally. Okay, please remember, every half an hour before I start my lecture and after I finish my lecture, somewhere one farmer is dying. And every day 2,300 farmers quitting agriculture. Again, it is global number. Okay, so this is the reality which is happening today. And if there is no farmer, how will you get the food? Then that is how we are facing the problem of food security. So those who are supposed to ensure food security, feeling from farm, every cost is certain for food producer, every return is uncertain, because they invest a lot and money, time, everything, but the biotic and abiotic factor is not in favor of them, So the land is not available, water is not available, pathogen is infecting, and climatic change is influencing. Then what they will do? So whatever the pesticide they have for the plant, they are consuming and they are dying. So quickly I show you like how the farmer suicide is happening in India. So this is the different states of India, and this is the year. So you can see that almost all the states of India, the people are dying, and the report says that the farmer suicide, which is accounting 11.3% among all the suicides. Okay, so from 1995 to 2013, there are around 3 lakhs people were died, and as per the report, every year in India, 13,000 farmers are dying. What are the other challenges the world is facing, the global world is facing? So with the existing availability of the land, water resources, and climatic factor, whether they should grow crops like rice or wheat or tomato or potato or something like that, or they should grow the crop which can give them a good revenue. Okay, so that is what we call it as a food versus fuel. So there are certain crops which can earn very good money, and they are known as a biofuel. Okay, so because the diesel and petrol rate is increasing, so now we look for the alternative strategy. Scientists have involving with development towards the bio-based thing. So jatropha is one plant, and that plant, if you grow, that can be used as a biofuel. And India, they identify 400,000 square kilometer, which means like 98 million acres of land to grow only jatropha. So 98 million acres spent only for growing jatropha. So whether we should encourage that, or that 98 million acres should spend only for the crops to eat. So this is the problem what the country is facing, or the globally they are facing, like food versus fuel. The another problem is storage facility. So in fact, not only India, throughout the globe, the post-harvesting technology is not very well. So many people haven't stored, they are unable to store the food properly. And in India, in one state, it is showed that 10 kilometers after harvesting, the rice and wheat were wasted. So here in the YouTube link, maybe sometime later you can watch that. That is evidence that, after harvesting, the food were wasted. So these are all some of the new challenges. So it is difficult to grow the crops. Despite we grow, how to store them, how to storage them. So that is another important thing we have to think. So I summarized all those aspects that related with the challenges, how to overcome that issue. So obviously we need to have the potential technique, new technologies which are needed. Maybe plant genetic engineering or biotechnology could be the alternative source for that. So let me conclude my lecture that food security is basically a way to making sure that everyone is able to access food services to all the time without shortage of nutrition purpose. This can be only done upholding the 4 pillars: availability, access, utilization, and stability. So these are all the 4 pillars by which one can sort it out this problem. And food security is a complex sustainable development issue linked to health through malnutrition, as I have shown a few slides before, but also sustainable economic development, environment, and trade. This could also help the world prepare for the future consumption needs that will arise due to the ever increased population. So with this one, I try to quote Jonathan Sachs' statement. So close to 1 billion people, 1/8 of the world's population still live in hunger. Each year, 2 million children die through malnutrition. This is happening at a time when doctors in Britain are warning of the spread of obesity. So one end, we don't get food. One end, they are getting overfood. Like, we are eating too much while others are starved. Okay. And thanks for this opportunity. And this is my last slide to show that a beautiful young girl, young kid. She is an innocent, cute girl, just like a flower on blossom. Tears trickling down her eyes. She's so hungry. Please give her some food. It's so close to her so far, because I just kept the food in the PPT, but not in reality. Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. I most welcome for any questions to answer. I once again thanks the organizer for giving me this opportunity, and thanks to Dr. Farida for chairing this session. Over to Dr. Farida.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sifa. It is a very great sharing research and very detailed for the information of the food security. We will still waiting Dr. Jiwang, but I think CS is not in this room. So we are continue to the question and answer session. Okay, Mr. Robbie, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Farida.
Okay, thank you. The first question is from Mr. Heri Nirwanto to Mr. Robbie in the chat room. Many disasters occurs in Indonesia per year. Can you give the kind of early warning system in village or district level to anticipate the big victim? And then the second question, still to the Mr. Robbie from Ibu Arika Purnawati. Based on your presentation, how can we access the database on disaster in Indonesia, and how role of universities for reducing the disaster. Okay, can answer the question from the two participants.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Farida. But first of all, I am so sorry. Can I respond the question using bahasa Indonesia? Excuse me, Professor Sifa. Can I answer from the all participants using bahasa Indonesia, since the participant I think it's come from Indonesia. Can I answer in bahasa, Bu Farida?
Okay.
Oke, oke, thank you so much, Pak Heri Nirwanto, terkait dengan peringatan dini, sistem peringatan dini yang dibangun oleh BNPB saat ini. Memang betul, Pak, kami sedang membangun pendekatan untuk community based for early warning system dengan pendekatan 4 kuadran, raising the risk information, meningkatkan pengetahuan atau pemahaman masyarakat terkait dengan informasi risiko bencana yang ada di sekitar mereka. Pendekatan yang kuadran yang kedua yang kami kembangkan adalah bagaimana kami mengkoordinasikan multi pihak untuk membangun mekanisme untuk monitoring hazard, monitoring bahaya, tergantung berbagai jenis bahaya. Yang ketiga, pendekatan yang ketiga, kami juga memperkuat bagaimana diseminasi informasi itu dapat bisa terdistribusi dengan cepat, termasuk ke kelompok-kelompok masyarakat. Dan yang terakhir adalah bagaimana kita meningkatkan kapasitas masyarakat dan stakeholders dalam merespon informasi. Beberapa program yang kami coba kembangkan di BNPB, mungkin sering dengar Bapak Ibu sekalian, satu program Desa Tangguh Bencana hingga Keluarga Tangguh Bencana. Itu merupakan bagian dari upaya pemerintah dalam membangun kapasitas komunitas, kapasitas keluarga, bagaimana mereka bisa mengidentifikasi bahaya yang ada di sekitar mereka, dan kemudian melakukan respon secara mandiri, apa yang dapat mereka lakukan untuk mengantisipasi bencana. Selain itu, BNPB bersama BPSN dan bersama beberapa kementerian lembaga juga mengembangkan beberapa standar, baik standar Indonesia, SNI, maupun ISO. Jadi kami juga mendorong membuat mekanisme berbasis standarisasi. SNI 8841 misalnya. Ada 2 series yang saat ini kita tetapkan, 8841 2019 tentang sistem peringatan dini berbasis masyarakat untuk yang sifatnya umum, untuk semua jenis bencana. SNI 8841 seri 2 tahun 2020 tentang sistem peringatan dini bencana berbasis masyarakat untuk tsunami. Yang sebelumnya yang sudah kita tetapkan SNI 8235 2017 tentang sistem peringatan dini berbasis masyarakat untuk gerakan tanah. Nah, yang gerakan tanah ini kami dorong untuk menjadi international standard. Sudah ditetapkan oleh ISO menjadi dokumen ISO 22327 sebagai pembelajaran Indonesia untuk menjadi standar internasional dalam membangun peringatan dini berbasis masyarakat. Selain itu, SNI yang kita dorong juga adalah SNI bagaimana desa dan kelurahan tangguh bencana. SNI 8357 2017. Itu juga kita dorong untuk kita bangun, kita jadikan sebagai acuan bersama. Tidak hanya pemerintah, masyarakat, dunia usaha, siapapun yang ingin mendorong kesiapsiagaan masyarakat itu lebih baik lagi dalam melakukan antisipasi bencana. Dengan harapan masa yang akan datang, komunitas itu memiliki kapasitas mandiri yang luar biasa dalam melakukan antisipasi bencana. Itu izin Pak Heri yang dapat saya respon sementara ini. Yang kedua terkait dari pertanyaan Ibu Arika Purnawati. Jadi terima kasih Bu Arika atas pertanyaannya. Untuk mengakses data silakan, tadi di dalam paparan saya sudah ada link internetnya, itu dapat diakses kapanpun oleh siapapun tanpa username dan password. Semua masyarakat bisa akses database disaster. Tergantung jenis datanya, data apa yang ingin diakses. Untuk statistik data, akseslah db.bnpb.go.id. Terkait dengan potensi risiko, akseslah Inaris, bnpb.go.id. Khusus Inaris, ada versi yang untuk masyarakat. Menggunakan smartphone, silahkan install. Inaris personal. Di sana ada informasi apa saja di titik dimanapun kita berada di Indonesia, Bapak Ibu sekalian, Bu Arika bisa tahu ada potensi bahaya apa di sekitar Bapak Ibu saat ini, kapanpun, 24 jam per 7 silahkan akses, dan di sana ada rekomendasi apa yang dapat dilakukan secara mandiri di Inaris yang ada di handphone. Yang terkait dengan role universities untuk mengurangi risiko bencana, saya kira tidak jauh-jauh dari Tridharma perguruan tinggi, Bu Arika. Melalui mekanisme pengajaran untuk meningkatkan pengetahuan seluruh warga perguruan tinggi, melalui penelitian, itu juga bisa untuk memperoleh, menggali kira-kira hal-hal apa saja yang perlu kita perkuat untuk mengurangi. Halo. Untuk mengurangi risiko bencana, dan yang paling penting juga adalah melalui pengabdian masyarakat, bagaimana perguruan tinggi dapat berperan menjalankan perannya sebagai katalisator untuk membantu masyarakat dalam mengenali potensi bahaya yang ada di sekitarnya dan meningkatkan kapasitas mereka untuk melakukan antisipasi secara mandiri. Mungkin itu Bu Arika. Yang selanjutnya Bu Farida, apakah langsung saja? Karena saya lihat ada beberapa.
Mungkin kita pindah ke Profesor Sifa dulu,
Prof.
Pak
Sifa dulu.
Murthy.
Oke, siap.
Okay, for Professor Sifa, there is two question for you from Bu Arika Purnawati.
Yeah.
From your presentation, there are many problems in agriculture in India, and one of them is plant disease and pests. How the government action to farmers to reduce the damage caused by pests and plant disease. And the second from Mr. Heri Nirwanto, India is expected to become a high middle income country by 2030 and the second largest economic country by 2050. Concerning with your data in which India now has 90th rank of 107 country with serious problem in the food lack. So what is the strategy to overcome the hidden malnutrition in recent years? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Arika, for your question. In fact, the pest and disease, whatever I have mentioned, it is not only pertaining to India. This is a global issue. But India, they are trying to overcome the pest and disease because they started a kind of a separate division under the government that is called Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Okay. So this is the scheme that they have started, which comes under the Department of Agricultural and Cooperation Farmers Welfare. So where they are giving a kind of instruction to the all farmer how to overcome the issue. And there is a huge thought which is going towards the organic based food. And that's why, pest and other thing they want to overcome. They don't want to use the pesticides and they want to use the natural growing kind of a stuff. Quickly, I will tell you one important thing. BT cotton, all of you heard about that. Okay, this is a genetically modified one. So which is in the cotton they do with the Gossypium hirsutum, which is not native of India, which is actually the Mexican cotton, which is native of Mexico. So India is the largest producer of cotton. Just I'm quoting that one example. Not only the producer of cotton, but also the consumer of cotton. We are the second rank. The first rank is China. Okay, with respect to the cotton cultivation. So in that Gossypium hirsutum, which is growing throughout the India, and where there is a pest which is infecting, for that they want to overcome that issue by a transgenic technology, and BT cotton is produced. That is a Bacillus thuringiensis gene were introduced and it is produced. Now, for the past 5 years, what happened? This pest getting mutation, and there is no more resistant. They are not sensitive to that gene. And they are overcome that issue. Now in India, especially what we are working on it, like we are not working on Gossypium hirsutum, which is a Mexican cotton. We have a desi cotton or native cotton. We call it as a Gossypium arboreum. So now the research work is going on how to produce more fiber yielding from Gossypium arboreum, because this Gossypium arboreum, generally the pest won't come and infect. So what I'm trying to explain from this statement is that the government is thinking in all the way to improve the native species, not from the, the cultivated species. And they created lots of ministry to take care of the crops, and they try to overcome the issue. So this is answering to the first question. The second question is very interesting question, which was raised by Harry Nirvanto, and thanks to them for this question about the global hunger. Yes, India is in the rank of 94th out of 107 countries. I do agree with that one. And to overcome that issue, as I was already mentioned, they are trying to start with some schemes, let's say like a kind of a midday meal. Okay, so during the midday meal scheme, which is introduced in India, I don't think anywhere in the world. So in school, whenever the kid comes to the school, the food will be provided to them at the free of cost. The food what they will get is nutritionally high rich, maybe like, they may provide with the green vegetables and egg, something like that, which is really good for them to get the to avoid or to overcome the malnutrition. So this is one strategy like that the government is thinking to overcome that issue. But the global hidden hunger is a very biggest issue. I think we should very seriously, we have to take care. And even as I mentioned, Indonesia is also 70th ranking. So we have to think globally to overcome this issue. And thanks to the questionnaire for asking this question. Thank you. I hope I have answered.
Okay, from Mr. Henry or Bu Arika, is enough for you?
Yeah, I think it's enough. Thank you very much for Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Pak Heri and Bu Arika. And then the next question to Mr. Robi from Mr. Rudy. Is that there are several factors that control the occurrence of liquefaction? And then the second question is from Mr. Muhammad Arifin. Land degradation due to natural disaster compared to human activities, which one is more common? And the second question is estimate how much the state loses annually due to land degradation, and what has the state done to reduce the impact of this land degradation? Okay, you can answer the question, Mr. Robi.
Oke, thank you Bu Farida, Pak Rusdi, dan Pak Arifin. Terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. Yang pertama dari Pak Rusdi, related factor that control the occurrences of liquefaction. Jadi sejauh pengetahuan saya, Pak Rusdi, lebih banyak aspek geoteknik yang perlu kita perkuat dalam mengendalikan likuifaksi, karena dari aspek geologi saya kira likuifaksi itu terjadi ketika daya dukung tanah itu sangat rendah, terutama jika terjadi gempa bumi, sehingga terjadi pergerakan mudahnya tanah itu bergerak pada saat terjadi guncangan dan berada di dekat dengan kondisi air tanah, dengan aliran air tanah, sehingga faktor-faktor geoteknik lebih dominan dalam mempengaruhi terjadinya likuifaksi, walaupun pemicunya pada umumnya terjadi akibat gempa bumi. Kondisi likuifaksi ini sejauh data yang kami himpun di Indonesia dari Badan Geologi sudah melakukan pemetaan cukup masif. Beberapa daerah memang sudah teridentifikasi daerah-daerah yang berpotensi terjadi likuifaksi, dan pada umumnya memang daerah-daerah yang berada di zona-zona patahan aktif. dan juga yang berada di daerah pesisir, yang mana pada umumnya daerah tersebut tingkat daya ikat tanahnya itu cenderung lebih rendah dibandingkan daerah yang lain. Dan untuk itu juga I'm sorry Pak Rusdi. Jadi faktor-faktor geoteknik tadilah yang saya kira itu yang menjadi aspek utama yang kita coba petakan lebih detail lagi, dan bagaimana strategi-strategi kita untuk meningkatkan daya ikat tanah di daerah-daerah rawan likuifaksi. Yang kedua dari Bapak Arifin terkait dengan land degradation dan natural disaster, ini terkait dengan aktivitas manusia juga, mana yang lebih sering mempengaruhi terjadinya bencana. Saya kira dua-duanya itu sangat terkait, Pak Muhammad Arifin. Jadi berdasarkan basis data yang kami lihat, kejadian bencana memang sering terjadi akibat kombinasi dari kedua hal tersebut, terutama untuk ancaman-ancaman yang sifatnya hidrometeorologi, banjir, longsor, terus banjir bandang. Itu sering terjadi di daerah-daerah yang memang banyak mengalami kerusakan lingkungan, dan juga banyak terjadi aktivitas manusia di sananya. Dan pendekatan baru dari UN juga sekarang, mereka tidak lagi membedakan antara natural disaster dan juga man-made disaster, karena bencana itu sangat erat dengan aktivitas manusia. Tanpa ada manusia tidak akan terjadi bencana. Itu yang pendekatan itu yang sekarang kita coba gunakan untuk bagaimana kita membangun strategi antisipasi bencana ke depan. Tanpa adanya aktivitas manusia, suatu das tanpa adanya aktivitas manusia, hanya terjadi kejadian banjir, bukan bencana banjir. Tapi dengan adanya aktivitas manusia, bencana itu terjadi. Jadi pendekatan bagaimana aspek bahaya bertemu dengan kerentanan, yang mana kerentanan itu lebih erat dengan aktivitas pembangunan, aktivitas manusia, sehingga potensi risiko itu terjadi. Sehingga pada saat ada pemicu, maka bencana itu terjadi. Sehingga kami belum pernah memiliki hasil kalkulasi bagaimana perbedaan atau bagaimana dampak kerusakan bencana akibat yang disebabkan oleh kerusakan lingkungan dan bencana yang diakibatkan oleh ulah manusia, karena dua-duanya bagi kami itu suatu hal yang saling beririsan dan berdekatan. Itu sementara yang dapat saya respon untuk Pak Arifin dan Pak Rusdi. Terima kasih atas pertanyaan yang telah diberikan. Saya kembalikan ke Bu Farida. Apakah saya lanjut ke yang berikutnya atau bagaimana, Bu Farida? Silakan.
Okay, thank you Pak Robi. Enough for Mr. Rudi and Mr. Muhammad Arifin.
Enough, my koreksi Rusdi, not Rudy. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Rusdi.
sorry,
Okay,
Rusdi,
yeah.
Mr.
That's
Rusdi.
back.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you
Sorry.
for Mr. Robi.
Okay.
Welcome, Pak.
Okay. Maybe we all skip the question and we move to the third keynote speaker. Dr. Jiwa, are you in this room? Dr. Jiwa?
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Okay.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Our third keynote speaker is Dr. Jiwa. She is from Faculty of Business, Economic and Law, the University of Queensland, Australia. Her educational qualification are as follows. In 2011, she attained her PhD degree from the University of Queensland, Australia. In 2008, she attained her master's degree from University of Canberra, Australia. And in 2003, she attained her bachelor degree from Business Administration, Tourism, Wuhan University, China. And she is expertise in crisis management. She has 30 journal publications in crisis area, service quality, tourism, and risk management. And then Dr. Jiwa has 3 book chapters in tourism and crisis area, and so many research grants. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the third keynote speaker, and she will deliver a presentation, and the title is Building Disaster Resilience in the Tourism Industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Jiwang. Time is yours, Dr. Jiwang, and you have a 30 minutes to presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Farida. So I'm trying to share my screen, and please let me know if it works.
Okay.
Can you see my screen?
Okay, it's very clear.
So everyone can see my screen now?
Yes.
Great. So I have 30 minutes. Let me introduce myself and about my slides. So I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Queensland Business School, and my research focus is disaster management, crisis management, and risk management in the tourism sector. And as you know, tourism sector has a very, very challenging time in the last 18 months. And I guess everyone has see the big impact. So today, my topic is about building disaster resilience in the tourism industry. And I will use 3 case studies to discuss what happened in Indonesia, what happened in Australia, particularly in Queensland, my state, my province, and also use another case study our team conducted 3 years ago in Fiji, the cyclone, and to introduce a disaster management framework and utilize this opportunity to discuss with all the audience here. So the first case study, I think is close to our audience, is about the impact of COVID on Indonesian tourism. This is a teamwork. I'm just one of the team member, but we were trying to identify the impact of disasters on tourism, and we assess particularly the job risk and the impact on the most vulnerable groups in Indonesia, particularly in the tourism sector. So this project has been funded by the Australia-Indonesia Center, and we appreciate the funding, the grant opportunity. I'm just, because of the time, I'm just provide some highlights in this study. And this study has been published recently in Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Management. So in 2020, international tourist arrivals have been declined by around 74% due to the COVID-19 pandemic, according to UNWTO report. And as you can see, a dramatic decrease in the Asia Pacific is more than that. It's around 80% decrease. Therefore, we have seen, I think everybody have seen the hard hit of the tourism. And it's really important for us to work together and try to save the economy. And this study, particularly trying to use economic modeling to identify the vulnerable groups. And based on this slide, you can see a few key highlights. The first one, overall, you can see 3.4 million jobs are at risk due to the COVID. And this is based on some of the statistics and our economic team, they calculate the impact. And the second finding from this study, we identify 4 hotspots of job vulnerability. In particular, Bali, you can see around 38, nearly 40% of the employment have been impacted. So COVID, it is an international challenge, but in Indonesia particularly, we can see the big negative impact. And most importantly, from this study, we identify several vulnerable groups. For example, women. So you can see women, youth, so the young group aged from 15 to 27 years old, as well as the low education workers were the most vulnerable groups during the pandemic, which means in the situation, everybody has been affected by the pandemic. Businesses usually will provide job opportunity for men or older or people with higher education situation, while these groups, these couple of groups, they have some job risks. So they are identified as vulnerable groups. And the fourth finding from this study is almost 40% of tourism-related jobs in Bali were at risk due to the pandemic. Therefore, our study called for the government to take action immediately. I know it is very hard for all the government, no matter in Indonesia or Australia or many other countries, to deal with the situation. But from the other studies we conducted, it is really important for us to have some collaboration. I want to discuss the second case study. Is more in the Queensland. So University of Queensland is located in this province, and we had some study together with Binabara Lodge and Lamington National Park. This is a more Australian case. However, some of the findings I would suggest would be important for other sector, other business operators to learn from this situation is a natural disaster. This is particularly about Black Summer, Australian Black Summer bushfires happened in late 2019 and early 2020. So during that period, Australia has massive bushfires on the coastline. And this small case study is located in the Gold Coast, very close to Brisbane, our city. And this is a little eco lodge and in the accommodation sector. And we have a lot of conversation, discussion with the owner, operators, and stakeholders in this place. And we find out disaster preparation and recovery definitely need agile leadership as well as the PALS. So we call them partnerships, alliances, and linkages. So just give you some background about tourism industry in Queensland. This is a very important sector for this state. I guess in Indonesia, a lot of provinces also rely on tourism, especially international tourists. But in Queensland, we have more than, I think, 2.7 billion dollars revenue from tourism. It is a tourism state, very, very important heritage such as Great Barrier Reef, as well as many other national parks, and lots of iconic tourist attractions. And we will definitely understand that is important for a local region development. However, most recently, we have a lot of natural disasters. I put some images here. You can see not only the COVID, but also the bushfires, cyclones. We have multiple cyclones hit in some of the tourist attractions and affect the development. So that increased the vulnerability of tourism destinations, and the businesses will feel it's in a very, very difficult situation to develop their resilience. Therefore, we understand it's important for businesses to understand the uncertainty, understand the vulnerability of this sector, and deal with that. So we use this case study to identify what capability can be important for us to respond and manage disasters, and what we can do, prepare like for the preparation before the disaster and the crisis happen, what we can do. And without those capabilities, it will add the difficulty for the business operators, practitioners, government and associations to deal with that after the disaster happened. Therefore, we try to understand the mechanism behind those disease resilience building and try to use this case study to give us some knowledge. So the image shown on this slide, you'll see Binabara Lodge. It is located in a national park, but because of bushfire, it damaged the lodge. And the left-hand side, the bottom, the image is the chair of the shareholder of this Binabara, Steve. So we have a lot of discussion with Steve. It is definitely a disaster for these little businesses. However, Steve and his management team want to disseminate the message. We want to rebuild. We will find opportunity. We will be stronger. Therefore, you can see from the right-hand side of the slide, it is important to develop a comprehensive approach to disaster management. It involves preparation, preparedness, response, and recovery. So PPRR. So during the preparation, definitely now it's too late to say a lot of prevention activities, but they did have a lot of preparation. However, the bushfires is so big, and it's not like a one-off bushfire in one place. During that season, very dry, and lots of places have big issues related to the weather. So sometimes it's beyond your control, although you have very good preparation. But still, Binabara, they identify it is important to build the strong team. During the Black Summer bushfire season, they have big shock. Originally, they have more than 65 staff members, but during that response stage, they have to help the staff members to find other jobs so that they can survive, they can look after their families. So they develop a lot of strategies working with the local government and the local industry associations to try to develop a special task force and deal with a lot of departments in the state government to find the solution. So they help those more than 60 staff members to find new jobs during that hard period. And they only have 5 to 6 core staff members stay in the businesses and try to deal with let's say the government support and apply for more insurance claim and so on. And after more than 1.5 years, the business has reopened, and you will see a lot of good positive aspects from this case. So they definitely have very good response, and they even use this turning point. They call this as turning point, find the opportunity from the disaster, and they develop a new strategies for this company. They said, because of the bushfire, our last 86 years history gone. But during this time, we need to develop new strategies. We want to rebuild it. And those message has been conveyed in the not only the mass media, but also their social media platform very, very strongly. So during that period of the hard situation, the disaster management, you will see the branding, their branding has dramatically increased during the situation. Although they don't have a good supply yet, they haven't rebuilt a lot of their accommodation infrastructure yet. However, they have a lot of innovative idea to help them to survive. So working together with the government, they developed some of the principles for disaster recovery, not only for the bushfire, but also for COVID-19 and as well as many other disasters. They said, we need to understand the community. Context is so important. Therefore, originally on their social media, they have a lot of message saying our businesses has difficulty and please help us. We have a lot of customers. Let's do something together. But at a certain time, they realized we couldn't put all the efforts, all the focus on the business by ourselves. We also have our community. We also have a lot of local residents. And those 60 staff members who left the businesses, they also have families. Therefore, they realize it's important to involve community. So that first step is understand your community, work with them, and try to support with each other. Then recognize that the complex during the disaster recovery stage, communicate all your challenges with the local government as well as the local council, or get whatever you can. So that is a very good example of the social capital. So you need to build those social capital. You capitalize those social networks so that you can quickly reallocate resources in a very short period of time. So they develop a lot of community-led approaches in response and management. And they have a very good planned and coordinated adaptation. And they even utilize this negative event to create a little library. Ask the community, have some oral, they record the oral history, ask people, memorize something, and they put all these documents and recordings, videos, and utilize the mass media to have a lot of documentaries. So therefore, people actually know this business much better than the pre-bushfire. And they recently received the Australian, the best resilient company, not an award yet, but be shortlisted. So let's see whether or not they can receive the award. And highlight the importance of effective communication and build your capacity. And this capacity is not saying you before something happened, you've already have those capacity and it's there. You can't change. They realize the capacity is more a dynamic process. So because of those negative events, because of those interaction with your social networks, with all the resources that you can use, they realize we can extend these resources and build your capacity during the process. And I think this is so important for our tourism sector to learn, particularly to deal with the COVID impact. So a lot of lessons can be learned from the Binabara. For example, you definitely need to have a right decision in time of emergency. They have a very successful evacuation. No customers, no attendees, no conference attendees, no staff member have had injury during the evacuation of that bushfire. Although some of the buildings have been destroyed in the bushfire, but luckily nobody lost their lives. And they have developed sound appreciation of the power of communication, not only mass media, but also social media. In particular, use no matter social media platform, they can use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and their own the site, the business, the website, to disseminate the stories. And I will show you a framework in a minute. Very, very important to have good communication. And a great emphasis on the role of stakeholder collaboration. You need to have a system thinking while you deal with this global pandemic and even bushfire or cyclone. It's just I think that the natural disaster is beyond the individual businesses to tackle. You definitely need to work with many other similar organizations, or even some organizations beyond the scope of tourism. So you need to build a system thinking. Therefore, our current research is trying to develop some ecosystem landscape to deal with, to help the businesses to deal with disaster. And from the Bina Bara case, we also understand the role of agile leadership in crisis. The leadership is not necessarily rely on one person, for example, Steve in this case, but also a small but a very, very dedicated team they had during that time. So these are some of the stakeholders sharing regarding the leadership. So, for example, Bina Bara Lodge employee said Steve was the face for all the media. He is the glue holding all the Bina Bara together and keeping everyone updated. So that's the importance of communication, and he heavily involved in the community. So involve a lot of older people in the little community to share the stories and share the perception that, yes, bushfire is bad, but fire is not bad. We need to better manage the fire, utilize a lot of technologies in the future. And they also realized the importance of their success evacuation that related to risk management before something happened. And Steve is a unique person and has relationship that related to the social networks. Without those existing relationships before disaster happened, you sometimes can't utilize those resources effectively. Therefore, the local government officers also mentioned they utilize the social capital smartly and in a very effective way. And also the media helped them to raise the profile, and it also helped the local council to receive a lot of government funding. And even our Prime Minister Scott Morrison visited the place and give some speech. So they definitely utilize those intangible power. There are some other lessons learned, but I just want to balance that you definitely have both positive side and the negative side. The green keywords represent the positive side. So you can see they have in-time evacuation. They have effective communication. They also develop a very strong Bina Bara spirit. They call it the solidarity. It's so important during a disaster. And it is not necessarily saying this is for these little businesses. It is for the destination, important for even for the national level. You need that solidarity. You need a spirit to put everyone, let's work together. And I think that's important for the COVID response. And the areas for improvement is we also realize the dark side of the media coverage, because media, they have their own agenda. They sometimes need some stories which is not necessarily aligned with the value and your purpose, the purpose of the businesses. Therefore, you need to sometimes work smartly with the media. You offer the content to them rather than they trace you and try to find some negative stories about you. Therefore, the skills, especially the capability building beforehand, is important related to the media. Also, balance between profit making and environmental community focus is very a good lesson for this eco-lodge. Yes, it is a business, therefore you can't say everything is non-for-profit. However, you also need to be aware of the importance of a natural environment and build the community connection. So need to balance that, and it's not easy. So from some of the takeaway messages for all stakeholders, you need to have well-prepared activities to deal with disaster. You need to have a resilient leader. The leader share the positive emotion during that situation. And you will also see the partnership, alliance, and these leadership will be important. From the image, I just put artwork in the local community. This is the water tank. So after the bushfire, the community need to rebuild their homes and some of the infrastructure. And this is a water tank to store water after rain. And you will see the nice artwork in this water tank. It shows the importance of the emotional connection, the community togetherness, and you will also see the appreciation for the firefighters and also the beauty of the natural environment because it's located in the national parks. Finally, I also want to introduce the case study related to Fiji. So this is an old, not a very recent study. However, this case study provides a very good framework for us to understand the importance of resilience building. So a couple of years ago, Fiji has multiple tropical cyclone, Winston and so on, hit the place. And our team developed some study and develop this framework. So this is called social mediated disaster management model for resilience over time. It shows the importance of the timeline during the disaster. You definitely have pre-disaster stage, during and after. For the disaster, it will have different dimensions based on the severity, duration, and surprise. And you will definitely have a resource related to your business to deal with that disaster. So this resilience is more resource-based resilience. And the importance is to identify the adaptive capabilities related to the business resilience. And we identify 4 important elements. The first one is economic development, social capital. I emphasize that through the Bidabara case. That's your social networks, information and communication that related to not only the message you deliver, but also how you deliver that message. So it's also related to the storytelling. And a lot of things can be done and studied in the future in this area. And the fourth one is collective competence. So it's not about one person, one business. It's more about the whole staff member cohort. They have a good understanding of the importance of preparedness and how to build that skills in advance. But through that case study, we identify the importance of social media. Social media is a tool. I don't want to overemphasize the importance of social media in business resilience. This is just an example. There are many other tools and platforms, and some of the elements need to be considered. But in the Fiji case, particularly, we identify that social media can be used to help the resource building to be more, let's say, have some of the elements. I put some example here. So social media can be used as a technological resource, can help mobilizing human resources, can help the small businesses, particularly to have fundraising because people nowadays use social media to raise funds during the disaster situation. And you definitely can have digital teams abroad. So the Fiji case show that a lot of hotels during that Fiji season, they use their other brand branches located in Australia to support them, especially the global brands like Marriott, Accor, and so on. So the social media is important. It's related to the technology and can also related to rapidity. So you can have quick updates. You can have lots of a donation campaign and so on. And I also provide a lot of examples to illustrate the resilience for adaptive capabilities. For example, the social capital, you'll see guests, they can treat hotel as families, and the hotel can utilize as a hub in community rebuilding, particularly for those destinations heavily rely on tourism. Some of the villages, some of the tourist community, they can use those bigger companies and use that as a hub. And a lot of local residents are the staff members in those hotels. So from the Fiji case, hotels organization become the hub. And also the storytelling and information sharing. It is related to the style. It is context-based. Different country will have totally different communication style. Indonesia may be very different to Australia or very different to many other countries in the Asia Pacific region. Therefore, for the practitioners, for the researchers, for the government bodies, we need to understand what is the best storytelling style, what is the best way to build the solidarity, what is the best way, most effective way to draw all the resources during that hard situation to help with each other. All right, so I'm aware of the time. So this is a very quick snapshot of my 3 case studies. And thank you for your attention. I look forward to connecting with you through the research collaboration. And I also provide my UQ email address so that you can send me email afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Chiwak for the presentation. It's very a great presentation and detailed presentation for the tourism. Okay, let's back to the Mr. Robbie. This is the last 2 questions for you. Okay, from Mr. Zainal Abidin. UPN Jatim is well known for applying appropriate technology. We have been developing technology in detecting natural disaster like earthquake. Also, we have been initiating some post-disaster economic recovery toward community service program. Is there any chance for researchers of UPN Jatim to get involved or collaborate in any program of BNPB? And the last question from Ibu Maria. In 2002 until 2004, I had hiking the mountain along Sumatra, Java to Sulawesi. Incidentally, at the time, I participated in research at ITS on the topic of disaster mapping. At the time, I just realized that Indonesia is surrounded by active mountains, from Laser in Aceh to Lamimojong in Sulawesi, and Mount Rinjani in Lombok. My question is, how is development of an active volcano at this time? Is still the threat to people on the slope of the mountain and urban village? Is there any policy taken by BNPB regarding this? And okay, thank you. Pak Robi, can you answer the question from Bu Maria and Mr. Zainal Abidin?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Farida. Pertama, dari Bapak Zainal Abidin. Terima kasih Bapak Zainal Abidin atas pertanyaannya dan beberapa usulan yang diberikan, dan saya kira dengan semangat pentahelix yang didorong oleh BNPB saat ini, saya kira sangat terbuka Pak kolaborasi antara BNPB dalam hal ini mewakili pemerintah bersama para akademisi, para expert, para peneliti, praktisi yang ada di seluruh Indonesia. Ayo kita sama-sama membangun yang kami sebut sebagai sistem penanggulangan bencana. Bisa langsung dengan BNPB maupun kita bisa bermitra dengan perpanjangan tangan BNPB. BPBD yang ada di Jawa Timur, BPBD yang ada di seluruh kabupaten di Jawa Timur, dan seluruh yang ada di Indonesia. Dan untuk setiap fase, baik kalau di sini sudah disampaikan oleh Pak Zainal, sudah ada teknologi tepat guna, mulai dari detecting pada saat pra bencana bisa kita kolaborasikan Pak, baik secara langsung dengan BNPB melalui kementerian lembaga terkait. Saya kira ini juga bisa kita dorong, misalnya kalau terkait dengan gempa bumi, apakah nanti kita bisa bergabung dengan kawan-kawan dari BMKG yang melakukan proses deteksi atau monitoring terkait dengan gempa bumi, atau nanti kita kaitkan dengan bagaimana kita melakukan perhitungan atau kajian risikonya. Saya kira itu juga bisa nanti kita kembangkan, maupun pada saat fase post disaster. Jadi post disaster kami juga di BNPB bersama kawan-kawan dari Kedeputian Rehabilitasi dan Rekonstruksi, saya kira juga sangat-sangat welcome, karena semangat kami adalah kolaborasi yang inklusif dan terintegrasi. Bagaimana kita bisa membangun ketangguhan bangsa Indonesia dengan melibatkan seluruh pihak, termasuk dari UPN Veteran Jawa Timur dan seluruh perguruan tinggi yang ada di Indonesia. Jadi sangat welcome Pak Zainal. Yang kedua, saya kira Bu Mariam atas nama Pak Aryo Bayu Wibisono ingin menyampaikan, saya kira pertama saya sangat apresiasi pengalaman yang dijalani sejak tahun 2002 sampai 2004 melakukan trip terkait dengan potensi gunung api. Jadi memang betul Pak Aryo atau Bu Mariam ini, saya kurang hafal ini Pak Aryo ya, Pak Aryo dari Pak Aryo. Jadi saya kira betul sekali Indonesia memang bagian dari busur vulkanik dunia. Dari kawan-kawan Badan Geologi mencatat, Pusat Vulkanologi dan Mitigasi Bencana Geologi mencatat paling tidak ada 127 gunung api aktif yang ada di Indonesia. Dari Aceh sampai Papua, dari Miangas sampai Pulau Rote ada 127 gunung api aktif, dan semuanya dipantau yang oleh Pusat Vulkanologi dan Mitigasi Bencana Geologi. 69 di antara 127 itu dipantau secara aktif. Dalam artian kita pasang sensor, kita pasang alat pantaunya, kita lakukan kajian, kita lakukan pemetaan daerah-daerah mana saja yang masih dapat dibuka untuk aktivitas penduduk, mana-mana saja kawasan yang memang kita larang untuk aktivitas-aktivitas atau tempat tinggal penduduk di seluruh gunung api, terutama di 69 gunung api aktif yang menurut pertimbangan Pusat Vulkanologi dan Mitigasi Bencana Geologi memang perlu kita pantau. Dan 69 itu sudah kita lakukan pemetaan, terutama oleh kawan-kawan Badan Geologi, dan kita buat zonasi KRB, kawasan rawan bencana level 1, 2, dan 3, dengan segala macam aturan-aturan yang perlu kita tetapkan, terutama kaitannya dengan tata ruang. 69 gunung api itu hasil kajiannya sudah kita integrasikan di dalam sebuah sistem informasi INARIS. Silakan dibuka Pak Aryo Bayu. INARIS itu peta kawasan rawan bencananya kita petakan, dan itu open to share. Silahkan dibuka, silahkan di-download, silahkan di-overlay dengan kebutuhan apapun terkait dengan pemanfaatan spasialnya. Jadi dia berbasis spasial sehingga bisa kita manfaatkan seluas-luasnya untuk keperluan antisipasi bencana tentunya. Jadi itu terkait dengan aturan, saya kira lebih kepada bagaimana BNPB memfasilitasi kebutuhan penataan ruang. Jadi kita bermitra dengan kawan-kawan dari agraria dan tata ruang, bagaimana kita ke depan memanfaatkan hasil kajian tadi untuk kita bangun sebuah penataan ruang yang aman dari bencana di masa yang akan datang. Itu Dr. Farida, my response regarding to participant. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Pak Robi. Please give big applause to Pak Robi. Okay, let's move to Dr. Jiwang. There is 3 questions for you, but I want to collect 2 questions for you. The first one is from Mr. Trimujoko. What do you think about the tourism sector in the future? There will be many obstacles because the cost will increase a lot. Is the tourism sector still promising enough profit in the future? And the second is from Mr. Heri Nirwanto. As pandemic COVID-19 not fully yet over, what is the scenario to recover tourism sector in the Australia concerning with new strain COVID issue? Okay.
Thank you, Farida. Responding to Trail Mojoko, I think we need to have the confidence that tourism sector will recover. It just takes time, and we need to be patient. But waiting for that recover doesn't mean we have nothing to do. There are a lot of things need to be prepared before they fully recover. And I understand that different countries have different agenda and different situation right now, but we need to, same as Steve, we need to believe that it will recover. And from a lot of interaction with businesses operators in Australia, we understand businesses always can adapt to different situations. So I probably put these 2 questions together. So in Australia, still different states have different situation. In Queensland, slightly better than Victoria and New South Wales. So Melbourne and Sydney currently have a lot of cases, but Queensland currently has no new case. But businesses, they adapt to, if the border is still closed, if the different states, we still can't have interstate travel, we fully focus on the domestic travel. So we try to involve more the local residents to move around and provide related services and products for these people. And I just this morning had a teaching. We invite a general manager from a core hotel group and share their reflections related to guest behavior change, as well as how to deal with the COVID situation. The hotel sector, actually, they have the confidence it will definitely recover because people want to travel. People want to go to other places to have a different experience. No doubt about that. But in this situation, those hotels, they develop new services. They increase the standards for cleanliness. They have a lot of activities to build the trust that customer understand. You will have a lot of preparation to maintain that cleanliness. On the other hand, they also understand perhaps corporate customer is not our current focus. We move on let's shift the market. We now focus on the leisure market. So a lot of the current travelers for their hotel is a leisure market. People particularly use weekends or Friday, Saturday, Sunday. to go to some of the hotels to have their small leisure time with the family. So it has changed their business, the market, but you have to do that. You need to survive. But they said they were definitely, everyone has the preparation to deal with that. So for the COVID, it definitely depends on the vaccination rate. Our government said if it's reached the 80% or some of the states reach 90% of the vaccination rate, then they can reopen the border. So that will give the hope for the tourism sector. But I want to emphasize that tourism involve a lot of subsector. So F&B, so food and beverage, transport, retail, recreation, arts, performance, theme park, national park, a long list. In this situation, we need to have more system thinking and try to understand the service ecosystem. And we need to understand for a customer, they can't visit a place without transport or without food or without accommodation. Therefore, these subsector need to work together. And then they develop some of the policies to government, then develop some of the policies or some of the schemes to support the collaboration, not only within one sector, but also cross different sectors so that they can develop a comprehensive scheme, the design of the services. And that is, I guess, is the new opportunity for tourism to redesign their package. And also the COVID also is sometime in some understanding a warning for people to realize the importance of cleanliness, the risk management. Therefore, I think we can't change these disaster, but we need to adapt to that. And I think all the skills related to leadership, communication, workforce development, and so on will be utilized. I hope I answer both of the questions.
Okay, Mr. Heri Nirwanto.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's enough.
Okay. And then to the next question from Bu Arika. From your presentation, how Australian people respond to the impact of COVID-19 on tourism business in Australia? Okay, Dr. Yuang, can you answer?
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat the question?
From your presentation, how Australian people respond to the impact of COVID-19 on tourism business in Australia?
You mean the strategies of tourism with COVID? I think from my observation, a lot of the tourism association play an important role in this situation. So they lobby the government and try to emphasize the importance of travel industry because it's part of the economic development. It's so important for the dollar perspective. Therefore, they will lobby the government and try to find some opportunities. So for the states who still can have event, then they will provide lots of guidelines to make sure the participants, the customers follow those government roadmap. They follow the hygiene standards so that these suppliers still can offer the service. Therefore, you can maintain your business. On the other hand, the industry association create a lot of a campaign and encourage domestic traveler, the domestic customer to encourage them to visit the local place. And they have a lot of local story sharing to emphasize the local culture, value, community, and saying, if you can visit that place, you can contribute to those business survival and development. So my research partnership, industry partnership also emphasize a word is the solidarity tourism. So it is not a traditional way of travel. When you go to a place to have your tourism experience, actually during this situation, you help the local business to have further development. So they call this the solidarity. We together. And I guess the industry association play a very, very important role to develop this campaign and encourage people to visit local place. So they also involve, let's say, the local farms, produce the strawberry and work with some of the business. For example, for the COVID vaccine, when people visit some of the big center to have vaccine, they will have little businesses like one of the famous ice cream in Brisbane is strawberry ice cream, and that strawberry ice cream is iconic food during our Eka festival. But because of the COVID, Eka festival, the more farmers they participate in this festival have been cancelled. You have to cancel those big events. However, you still can involve those little businesses to participate in other places. So they invite them to the vaccination center. So while people have vaccination, after that, they can enjoy ice cream. So definitely involve a lot of innovation and creative idea, and the technology play an important role. So I guess this is the ongoing process. Businesses work with government, with closely with industry association, even work with the customers to brainstorm the idea and try to find the survival way. And I also observe a lot of negative things is we lost a lot of employees in hospitality and the tourism sector. They moved to other places because of the shutdown of those attraction or hotels and so on. So that's the biggest challenge in employment. Therefore, government, association and business need to develop some strategy. Once the tourism recovers, how you can find those experienced people, skilled people work for you. I think that is one of the biggest challenge mentioned by our industry people in Australia, how to secure those people. Don't let them move to other sector. And once we recover, once we have opportunity and we have hope, it will recover. How can we have those good people working in this sector? That's I think the question. So people need to have some forward thinking. Don't only think about, oh, we can't survive, it will die, we can't have tourism at all. We need to have the hope it will, and find the innovative way to survive at the moment, collaboratively, cooperation and so on. On the other hand, thinking like in the future, if it is good and everything recover and back to normal, do you have people? Do you have those good people working for you? So yeah, it's not an easy question, and I guess everyone needs to work together to find the solution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jua. Okay, Bu Arika, enough for you?
I think it's enough. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Arika. And then the last question from Mr. Ramdan. Surabaya have planning future program tourism about medical tourism. Maybe you have suggestion or advice to this program about medical tourism. The last question.
So Farida, is the question for me from Ramanda?
Yes. from Mr. Ramdan for you.
Yeah, so the medical tourism has slightly a different definition. In some of the places, the medical tourism means people go for another places to have medical treatment for, let's say, dentist or surgery. At the same time, they travel to other places. I think it will become important in the future in a lot of Asia Pacific countries. I think Thailand has a lot of program like that. In terms of a suggestion and advice, I think, yes, it will become a trend that people realize the importance of health, our personal health. So not only the body, the physical body, but also the mental health issue. So definitely medical tourism is a big trend. But preparing for those programs perhaps need to have better guidance in terms of the, let's say, medical standards. You, as a destination to develop those programs, you don't want those low quality supplier working with you. Therefore, in terms of the selection of the supplier who can offer those medical services, you probably need to have good guidance and standards to make sure they are good. Because if a lot of international travelers travel to that place to have medical treatment, definitely word of mouth as well as the reputation is so important. So quality control is important. Second, if it's related to tourism, you always need to emphasize experience. So tourism is the experience economy. And the people understand those good memories. It's intangible, lots of intangible elements in tourism. Therefore, although the medical treatment might be not a good experience sometimes, but if you can offer additional services, that's the competitive advantage for the destination, so that you can boost not only your medical service provider, but also the other, let's say, retail, shopping, and the visitors number, and they can bring a lot of purchase power for the local community. But need to have good plan. So the destination level, at destination level, it would be also, as I mentioned and emphasized again and again, you need to have a service ecosystem or system thinking. You can't say, oh, this can bring money, so I put all the efforts on this. I think because of the COVID, people understand all the sectors are correlated. If something dropped, if something had bad situation, and our other sectors were also related. Therefore, same logic for the good side. So when we develop some program, particularly in tourism in the future, you need to understand the whole system, the ecosystem, as I mentioned, the transportation, accommodation, food and beverage, performance art center, theme park, national park. So if you can develop a lot of related services around the medical services in the tourism sector, you probably can see a lot of opportunities for the local development for the destination. So yeah, it's a very good trend, but need government and association, industry associations to work together with the local community, the businesses, and see how we can develop a very attractive package to invite international and local travelers to here, not only for a week medical treatment, but also, let's say, for 2 weeks visitor period to enjoy the food, the experience in that destination. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Enough, Pak Ramdan. Okay, thank you, Dr. Jiwang. Please give a big applause for the presentation today for Dr. Jiwang. And share Dr. Jiwang for the nice discussion and presentation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of the presentation today. Before I close the seminar, I would like to take the conclusion from the all speakers today. The first one from Mr. Robbie. Indonesia sits along a volatile seismic strip called the Ring of Fire in the Pacific. Volcanic eruption and earthquake occur regularly, which can present a potential threat of tsunami. National Board of Disaster Management or Badan Nasional Penanggulangan Bencana or BNPB Indonesia is the Indonesian Board for Natural Disaster Affairs. BNPB is directly responsible effectively and efficiently to handling any disaster management and handling of refugees to act quickly. Also, BNPB has many duties such as delivering information to community disaster management human use and account for donation or support national and international, and develop guidelines for the established for regional disaster management agency. And then for the second speaker from Professor Sifa Rama Murthy, as we know, the world population is growing significantly. The rate is 2 until 3% every year. The effect of the large population is increasing demand for food, but area of arable land is decreasing. Green revolution is one of solutions to solve this problem. Short straw varieties, cheaper synthetic and fertilizer, pesticide, and better machinery are ingredients of the green revolution. Also, access to quality nutrition food are fundamental to human existence. Secure access to food can produce wide-ranging positive impact. Finally, food security is the measure of the availability of food and individual ability to access it. And the third speaker from Dr. Jiwang, tourism is one of all strategic sector and has an important role as a source of foreign exchange and encourage national economic growth. Earlier 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic has begun to enter all countries. This phenomena also has resulted in the contraction in the negative economic growth as well as creating bad conditions for the tourism sector in all sectors. Agile leadership is the craft of creating the right context for self-organization and environmental where agile teams collaborate, learn from each other, get quick feedback from users, and are focused on quality and continuous learning. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, finally, we come to the end of the presentation. And then we would like to thanks again for all keynote speakers. Let's give a big applause again for all keynote speakers for their sharing research and interesting discussion today. And absolutely to audience for your active participation. Hopefully the presentation will be beneficial for everyone. Thank you for your attention. I am Dr. Farida Pulansari as moderator. I want to say thank you for Pak Robi, thank you for Professor Sifa, and share for Dr. Jiwang. And stay happy and healthy. Good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye and see you next year. Back to the Mr. Aryo.
All right, thank you, Dr. Farida, as a moderator. Such an interesting discussion session that we had, wasn't it? Once again, thank you for our distinguished keynote speaker, Dr. Jiwang, Professor Sifa, and Mr. Robi. Wow, we're halfway already, dear ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. And after this, we'll be having our second session. That is the panel presentation that will be divided into several rooms. We will be having sub-themes such as digital literacy advancement, food security and agro-industry, renewable energy, community resilience, ICT and data security, creative economy, as well as law enforcement. And I'm sure that all the participants who are going to present have already been ready in this room. But first of all, to refresh our minds, to prepare ourselves to the next session, let's have a break until 1 p.m. starting from now. But first of all, I would like to ask all the participants, especially who are going to present, to rename their Zoom account with the format of room number and dash your full name. For instance, if I'm going to present it at room 1, my name will be room 1 dash Aryo Bima Utomo. And I'm going to repeat this instruction in bahasa Indonesia. Bapak Ibu sekalian, ada request instruksi untuk yang akan presentasi, silakan untuk mengganti namanya sesuai dengan roomnya. Jadi misalnya saya presentasi di room 1, strip atau dash Aryo Bima Utomo, dan begitupun seterusnya. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a break session after this and see you again at 1 p.m. But on behalf of the committee, we would like to request everyone to come back to this room approximately 15 minutes before the second session begins. Thank you for your attention and see you. We're hoping for the fruitful discussion session ahead. See you.